Good afternoon, Facebook. I'll just give it a couple of minutes. Let's see if anybody's here. Just grab my catalogue while I'm waiting. Oh, hello, Maxine's here. Thank you for joining me, Maxine. I'm just prepping my catalogue. Everything else prepped. I don't know what's wrong with my head today. And I don't know why I can't find what I'm looking for. When there's an index in the back of the catalogue, it's ever so helpful. So let me find the correct page and then I'll be right with you. There we are. Just for the pointers. So hello and welcome to my Facebook Live. Hi Sylvia and hi Maxine. Thank you for joining me. I really didn't know whether I'd be able to get on and do a live today. I've just been so busy. I don't know. I don't work Mondays and I don't work Tuesdays. And I think just because, hi Lorna, I think just because I had a day out, I went up to Skipton on Sunday. I feel a bit sort of behind somehow. It's really crazy. Anyway, you're very welcome to join me. I'm Izzy Shashinsky and I am Izzy's Crafty Bees. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the UK. And thank you for joining me today. I've just hopped on. I'm going to just make one card today, and actually it's a repeat of a card that I made in class 2 weeks ago. Just because it's a nice fancy fold, and I thought I'd just share it with you and just have a crafty chat. So I think I'm prepared. Before I spin my camera around and start crafting though, let's just talk about 3 things that have made me happy, golden moments since I was last here. I didn't come on air last Tuesday because it was mum-in-law's. You'll have seen my posts, my lovely posts of my mum-in-law. She was 90, so that was lovely. Oh, hi Renee. Renee's joined me from the States as well. That's great. I didn't quite expect an audience today. I don't know why, because I hadn't prepared so early. I thought I might be talking to myself and everybody would watch on replay. So yeah, last Tuesday was lovely. That made me happy to be able to share that day with Jean for her 90th birthday. Gosh, 90, that's a fabulous age to get to, isn't it? And I went to see my mum, who is not 90, on Sunday. So I had an week early Mother's Day with my mum on Sunday, and also got to see my brother, my sister-in-law, my 2 fabulous nieces. So I drove up to Skipton and had that, and I didn't know whether I'd get up there because of the snow. Here it is 1 minute, then it's gone the next. Who knows? Crazy English weather. But I had a fabulous day up in my hometown of Skipton in North Yorkshire. And another thing that's just made me really happy, just block your ears, Lorna, because I know you don't like them. I've just been out to feed the birds in my garden and spotted in our wildlife pond the frogs. In fact, as I went to sleep last night, as I got into bed last night, I could hear them croaking, and I thought, it's frog time. And there they are. Frogs are back in the pond. Got some frog spawn, so everything in nature's fab. Anyway, while I'm crafting, please feel free to comment on the kinds of things that have made you happy since I was last here a fortnight ago. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, please feel free to comment as I craft along and we can have some crafty chat. Oh, scary frogs. Poor Lorna really does not like frogs. Oh, you know me, I love nature. Now then, let's see. Oh, Sheena, you don't like frogs either. You're not alone, Lorna. That's so funny. Oh, and some people don't like birds. I'm going to try and change my camera around now. Always a tricky moment. Bear with. Yes, fabulous. Here we go. I think my camera's slightly wonky, but I think it'll be fine. So this is the card I'm going to share with you. It's a fancy fold. I made it in class a couple of weeks ago. It has this, it's kind of like a mini card in the middle and then this angled front, and it stands really nicely. That's it standing up from above. It does stand really nicely. It's just a bit different, just a bit of something different. So I thought I'd share that with you today. And we're going to use a couple of products from the Regency Park suite, which is in the mini catalogue, pages 30 to 31 and page 32 and 33. So it's a big suite. It actually has two bundles, stamp set with coordinating punch and a stamp set with coordinating dies, an embossing folder, some Milky Dot gems, some DSP, some ribbon, and this textured shimmer paper. Now, I've used it before on a live. I've got the punch and the sentiment stamp set. And the punch also coordinates with two of the sheets in the designer series paper, which is what I'm going to highlight today. I have got the Milky Dots actually, so I will just pull those out of my bling. Somewhere in here they will be. Here we go. Let's bring those out as well. We'll use some of those, seeing as how they actually coordinate. We will use some of the ribbon, the DSP, the Sentimental Park, I think it's Sentimental Park stamp set. Yes, it's here, it's right in front of me. This one that has a lot of sentiments but a few small images, so we'll be using this and the DSP and the ribbon. So that's that. If you are shopping with me online, izzycraftybees.stampinup.net. If you use this host code, I can then send you a free gift the following month. So without further ado, I will take a seat and I will not be watching comments for a little while. I will check from time to time just on comments, but I will answer all of your comments after I've finished on air. So let's get started. I will be changing the colour of this card. So this one I made using Sweet Sorbets, the red card base. Really lovely red. It's what I would call a clear red. It's a very sort of spring-like red. It's not, I don't class it as a Christmas red. It's nice to have a red in the palette of colours that doesn't scream Christmas season. It's a very pretty and bright red. So that's the colour I used for this one, but I'm actually going to change it up and I'm going to use Balmy Blue. If you were watching Lorna's live last night, Mum made a pun about Balmy Blue. She said Balmy Blue, ha ha ha, and spelt it B-A-R-M-Y instead of B-A-L-M-Y. I got the joke because me and Mum are both balmy. So that was funny. So to make this card, you will need a full sheet of A4 cardstock. It is a bit more card intensive than a regular card. And to start with, you're going to need to cut your piece of A4 lengthways. So put it in your trimmer portrait and then trim it to 10.5, which is half the A4. And we'll just pop that one piece to one side. I'm then going to score, turn it round and score at 14.8. And that gives us our, oh, I've got a crease in that, so I'll just pop that to the back. That gives us our card base with the fold down the left hand side, so it opens like a book rather than like a tent. I'm also going to make the mini card for the inside, and I've completely forgotten what the measurement is, so I'm just going to grab my ruler. Everything's in my notebook for class. Let me try and grab my ruler without knocking my camera, which is my usual trick. So yeah, it's 18 by 9. So it's makes a 9 centimetre square mini card in the middle. Now, I'm hopeless at inches. I really apologise, Renee. So that would be 3.5 inches square card. So you'd need a 7-inch length by 3.5 inches. So I'm going to cut that 18. I'm going to trim this second piece down. I'll just extend the measuring ruler on my trimmer. I'm going to trim that piece down to 18. This is the remaining piece, and I'm going to trim this piece down to 9. I will bin this piece, and then I'm going to score this at 9, so we get a 9 centimetre square mini card for the middle. And then we've got this piece left, so we've used this much card, half a piece of A4 for our main card blank, and then this piece for the mini card that goes inside. We've got this piece left. So if you were making this card using a different stamp set, or indeed die cuts, you'd have a piece of your base colour that you could do some die cutting from. In this instance, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to tuck that measuring ruler back in to make my trimmer a little bit more easy to manage. Now we're going to take that slice from the front. So all you need to do here is just pay attention to which is the front of your card. So this is the front of my card. I'm going to open it, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to cut from the top to the bottom. So if we do that again, I'm going to just open it. In fact, if I open it that way, so I've got the back of the card to the left, then I can place it in the trimmer, and I'm going to make a cut from the top to the bottom by just placing that in the cutting channel of my trimmer. Now it wants to get caught on this piece, so just be careful of that. You can move it down your trimmer slightly so this does not get caught on this. Just take that out. There's a sort of like a stop there. So if I take that across there so it's not catching, I want to put this corner on the groove, and I want to put this corner on the trimming groove. And then I'm going to give you another tip. Slide your cutting blade to the centre, making sure that your trimmer guide, your ruler guide, is firmly down, and you can hold that with finger and thumb, and then you can cut up and down and take off that piece. And the reason I said put your trimmer blade in the middle is because if you try to cut up on a corner, there's every likelihood that that corner will get crushed. So I've got my card base now with that corner, and I can pop my trimmer to one side. We don't need that for a moment or two. So if I bring back my original, you will see that I have the front embossed. This front triangle is embossed, just gives it more interest, and it also strengthens it. It just feels a little bit stronger because we're going to stick that piece back on. So I'm going to take this piece, and if we turn it around, let me see, this way, if we flip it, so this piece I've taken off, if we flip that, that can actually be adhered back onto that front triangle. So that's what I'm going to do, but I'm going to emboss this front piece before I adhere it back to the front. We also need some basic white pieces. We want a square for the front and a square to go inside. So I'm going to grab a piece of basic white, and we will just trim those down, and then we're ready to do some decoration. Just going to see what's actually in shot. Yeah, I think we're all good. Oh, are you making along, Maxine? Oh, gosh. Apologies, I'll go a bit slower. I didn't know. I'm glad I stood up then. Let's see then. We'll just go a bit slower. So I'm going to make 2 squares of basic white to go inside. So this is a 9 centimetre square, and I'm just going to take that down by ½ centimetre. So I'm going to have 2 that measure 8½. So I'm going to pop that in my trimmer and cut 8½ and 8½, and I want 2 of those. And that's one of them, and that's one of them just there. Now I'm going to gather all my bits and pieces, and I'm just going to burnish my creases, and I'm hoping that Maxine's able to catch up if she's making along. That's fab to know when somebody's making along. Let me stand and I can see. It's fine, you're keeping up. Marvellous, you're a good un. That's fantastic. So we should have all of our pieces, our main pieces to make the card. Now I'm going to just share with you the Regency Park. It is called Regency Park DSP, and I store my DSP in these vinyl record sleeves. So this is one for single records, and I have the ones for LPs, the 12 by 12 for my 12 by 12 DSP. I just find them easier to manage than the thin packets that we get with the sticky flap. I'm always getting everything stuck to the sticky flap. Now I'm going to use this for my original card. I used this piece to decorate the front with some additional small blue flowers from this piece, so this one. And like I said before, I did a class using this, so I've used quite a bit of this DSP. For the card today, I'm actually going to use this pattern. And this pattern both coordinate with the matching punch. You may have offered the matching punch to the DSP and become confused and thought it doesn't match, but believe me, it does. It just takes a bit of fiddling. It really does match. Here are some of the other patterns. I'll just flip through them really quickly. Really lovely sweet sorbets, the red, some really nice ditzy flowers, some gorgeous navy. I'm a sucker for anything with navy, so we've got Night of Navy, sweet sorbet, mango melody, petal pink and balmy blue. In this paper I particularly love this one. I might actually, no I'm not going to, I don't think. I might use something from this one. Let's have a look. I might do some fussy cutting as well. I think they go nicely together. So what did I just tuck in there? That one. I will just keep that one out and I will share with you. I've just dropped a load on the floor. Let me just slide them back in that plastic wallet. And if you're wondering where I get mine, in the UK I actually just ordered mine from eBay. I just did a search for vinyl record sleeve protectors on eBay and I just ordered a pack. You can get them in varying different numbers. Okay, so pop that one to one side for later. So these two, let's just shift that out of the way. These two designs are exactly the same. I can see the pattern on here repeating, but it's just a different colourway. I'm just going to try and point out the pattern. Repeat if I can find it. There we go. I think that's the same orientation. So you can see the big flower, the medium flower and the small flower, and the leaves are the same, just a different colourway. And we have this punch, and the punch has 3 flowers and a leaf. Now I don't think the leaf actually coordinates with the DSP, although I could be wrong there, but certainly the 3 flowers do actually line up. But if when you first look you might think, oh gosh, well how do I get that to line up? It looks like they should line up, but it's just not marrying. Look, I've got the flowers, the big flower, the small flower, the medium flower, but they're just not lining up. But they do if you faff, and by faffing I mean if you've trimmed down your piece of DSP slightly, and here's one I prepared earlier. So let me see, this is how it was with the piece missing, and I trimmed it down. First of all I just cut a little bit round and had this piece, and then it was still too big, so I trimmed this bit off, and now I can slide that in and I can get it to line up. There we go. And I can tell you actually that the leaf doesn't coordinate, so it's just the 3 flowers that actually coordinate. So you do just have to look really carefully at which 3 flowers it is, and it should be these 3 here that should coordinate. So if I trim those down, I just take my scissors and just trim around those 3, I should be able to get those 3 to line up. There we are, we've got 3 more there that line up. and I'd already had this paper and had tried to line it up without trimming it down, and I thought, oh no, it doesn't, that's such a shame. I can't believe they printed DSP with a punch and it doesn't line up. And then I studied it carefully, and if you can see, I'm just going to find something to point with. Let me just find a pencil. If you can see, this here was the giveaway for me. Can you see this gap between the petal and the leaf? That was a really clear giveaway to me that actually they designed the paper to match the punch, and I thought, no, definitely worth persevering. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to punch one set of those pretty flowers from the DSP ready for our decorating, and I'll just pop those up at the top. If I bring my original in, I actually had 3, and then I had an extra of the mini flowers, so I'll just find one on the DSP. Look, there's one that I can slide in and use the punch. Ooh, get it in my right hand, in the correct hand, and then I can just line that up. And you might need to rotate it to get it so it's just perfectly lined up. I think that might be it, or it could even be that way around. I think it's that way round. If you look, that little petal at the bottom is a slightly squared or flat base to it, so I will just have an extra blue flower there. And I can get rid of these little bits. What I might do is just save this one because it's got 2 good leaves, 3 good leaves, 4 good leaves actually. We'll save that piece and we'll fussy cut some leaves. And then I'm also just going to pop all of these spare bits to one side. I'm going to come back to this piece that I picked out, and I will just fussy cut. Just pop the punch to one side. I will just fussy cut some of these pretty small flowers because I think they look quite nice just to give it a bit more bulk. So I'll just use these along the edge. So let's just go ahead and fussy cut, and then I'll have a stand up and I'll have a look at comments and see how Maxine is doing. Sure, Maxine, do you have exactly the same stamp set? Are you making along using something different? Just going to trim that and make it a bit easier. It's always nice to know that somebody's going to make along. It's lovely. I really enjoyed making this card in class as well. It's nice. I try and have a fancy fold in every class, something with a bit of a technique. Not sure if I can share. Oh yes, I can share that card, so I have it still. I've become a little bit better at actually giving and sending the cards that I make in class. So we've got some little flowers there. Let me have a look. I'll stand up. Using different, and you're fussy cutting as well. Okay, so let me sit back down and I will do some more fussy cutting. So I'm going to cut some leaves from this piece, just so we've got something else to add to the decoration. And I'm just being quite quick with my fussy cutting. There's a pair of leaves. Let's see, maybe a single leaf we could add. I think we'll go with this one here. It's amazing how much you can actually get out of one small piece of DSP. And there we are, we've got some leaves. I could also use this flower if I wanted, just along the edge of a piece, along the edge of a card. So, you know, I could save this piece to use on another project. I tend to be quite ruthless and bin lots of my little bits of DSP because I have to say I end up with lots of it, even when I run classes. So let me pop that one to one side. Let's have a look at the decoration. So I am going to bring in my cut and emboss machine. I'm going to use my big machine and an embossing folder, and I'm going to choose to use the Hive embossing folder. It's a nice texture and it's something a little bit different. I could use something that was floral or more organic. I did wonder about using the fern leaf one from forgotten the set now, it'll come to me, Sun Prints, but I quite like this just for something a bit different. It's soft, but it's just a little bit different. And for embossing we need plate number 1, or the base plate, and we need plate number 4 because this is a 3D embossing folder. And I'm going to double check that I've got the orientation right. So this is the piece I want to emboss, so this is the top. If I hold my embossing folder with the Stampin' Up label, let me make sure that's in shot, Stampin' Up label towards me, and I open, that's the front then, and I place my piece for embossing in the folder. Always hinge forward, and then put my top plate on and wind that through. And the reason we use hinge forward is so that you get the embossing folder the correct way round in your machine. If you try and go this way, it's just the right width, but it could scrape and actually damage the hinge. And some of the larger folders do look square, but they're slightly narrower than they are tall. So there we are, we've got our embossed piece ready to stick to the front of that card. And I've actually had a couple of embossing folders damaged. They still work okay, but they have been damaged by not putting them in hinge forward. So since I heard that tip, I always make sure I put them in. So now I'm just going to simply adhere this front piece to that front triangle. It's a shame that I've got a crease there. I didn't realise that piece of cardstock was creased. I'm going to use Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue because I find on embossed, particularly deeply embossed pieces, that it gives a greater surface contact. And also if I was to press down with a tape runner glue like Stampin' Seal, there's a risk of squishing the embossing, which I've just carefully added to the card, and we don't want it squishing. So I'm just going to be careful, pick that up, try not to get glue on my fingers, and we'll adhere that to the front of the card. Just line that up carefully. And the other thing is, multi-purpose liquid glue gives you that bit of wiggle room. So we've got that lined up. See, I'm just a bit out of alignment there. I've got that correction room because I can slide it. That's nice. Again, I'm not going to press down too much because I don't want to squash that beautiful deep embossing that I've just added, and that just strengthens that base card. It feels a lot stronger than it did before because I've taken away half of the front. It did feel a little bit weaker. Now of course you could choose to use DSP for the front and use that cutaway piece for some die cutting pieces, and DSP stuck on the front would look equally nice. You would just need to measure the piece, and I would suggest that you started with a rectangle the same measurement as the card folded, and then just cut it diagonally in half, and that would work beautifully. So let's decorate the front piece for the mini card that we're going to stick inside. And I have actually stamped a sentiment and I've stamped an image. So let's grab the stamp set first of all. So I've stamped "Let's Celebrate You." So this is a fabulous sentiment stamp set called Sentimental Park because it's full of sentiments, and it's really great because you can mix and match the sentiments. So I could say thanks for all the wonderful things you do, or thank, and I could mask the S, you. Let's celebrate your anniversary, let's celebrate your graduation. What else could we do? Just fabulous. We could just thinking of you, happy birthday, let's celebrate, happy birthday. Just lovely. I love it when there are sentiments that you can mix and match, and you get such a lot of use out of them. Really, really versatile. Plus the images are not to be overlooked. I really like the fact that there are a few images in there, particularly this one. I like a background, an image that I can use for the background, but did you know that if you piece this together you can make it look like ribbon? So you can actually stamp it in a line and make it look like ribbon. It's particularly nice if you're heat embossing. I've done a couple of other cards that you may have seen me do live. I think I've actually sent them. Let me just have a rummage in my box. I think I've actually sent them. Yes, I have. Anyway, I did a couple of cards. I think I actually sent one to Maxine for her happy new home, where I used this image. Really nice. So that's the image I'm going to use. So let's grab that one and pop that on a block, and that fits nicely on block C. So we'll have that. I'm also going to use, let's have a think about the sentiment. Shall we have thinking of you? Thinking of you. Let's think about, oh, I'm so indecisive. Let's do a thank you card. Let's do a thank you card. I'm going to do thanks, but I will mask the S. And let's do you. And let's turn this one into a thank you card. And that's it for the stamps, I think. Yes, just had to think then. So I'm going to do it in two colours, and what I would suggest is stamping the sentiment first and then decorating the rest. So let's go with you in Balmy Blue. This is where I hope I can stamp straight, because I'm sitting quite a way back to allow the camera a good view. I'm just going to eyeball this and hope I can get this straight. Ooh, it's always a bit scary. Oh, and I've pressed on too hard. Never mind, we have an emergency side. Something to be careful of. My ink pad is very, very juicy. So because I inked up, even though light tapping, I've got ink into the very middle of those letters. So what I'm going to do is just grab my chamois and we'll give it a clean. And we'll just try that one again. So just something to be aware of. Let's ink up gently. And let's try that one again. And let's hope that I am straight a second time. Okay. Always remember you've got an emergency side. And it's only a piece of card at the end of the day. It's nothing to get upset about, and we all make mistakes. So I'm going to actually grab a piece of washi tape. Oh, and I knew I had one just behind me. And I'm going to just mask off the S. I'm just going to see. It's easier to do it this way around. I'm going to just mask off the S. And then ink up the thank. You can ink it up along the edge. I'll actually try and ink it up along the edge so I don't actually even get any ink on the S, but masking just to be careful, just to be on the safe side. And now I can take off the washi tape and let's stamp that up above the U. Again, hoping that I've got that in the right place. So thank you, that looks really nice. Happy with that. So again, versatility. You can always mask or just carefully ink along the edge of your, probably if I put it that way you'd just see it a bit better without that edge. You can see how I can ink that up without getting any ink on the S if you're careful. So Let's close up my ink pads. Oh no, I want the blue one. Gosh, what am I doing? So I want the blue one. I want to continue, and I want to use this lovely outline flower stamp, and I want to put some flowers on the background across this area. On my original, I haven't actually got that many in view, but this time I'm going to make a bit more of an L shape. So I'm going to stamp that a bit further up and see if I can tuck that around the word thank, so we can actually see that nicely in the background. I'm going to give it a turn and we will stamp that across the bottom, and then we can decorate with our punched and fussy cut flowers. So just a bit of a background, and now I can close up my ink pad. So now we can start some assembling. Let's try and assemble this card. So I'm going to stick this mini card in the center, and I'm just simply going to eyeball it. I'm not going to do anything other than eyeball the middle. If you want to, you can measure and measure the middle of this, but to be honest, I'm just going, if it looks like it's halfway, it will be halfway to me and to my eye. So I'm going to use multi-purpose liquid glue again. To pop that little card in the middle, a little bit down from the very top. You don't want it to be right at the top. Let's do that. There we go. And you can use your bone folder, and that ensures that the glue underneath is evenly spread. Now I can pop my second piece of white inside. Now if I wanted to, I could decorate this. On my original, I've got a double sentiment: let's celebrate you for all the wonderful things you do. And I actually originally mounted the for and all the wonderful things you do on one block, so it was a one stamp double sentiment. I'm going to leave this one naked of a sentiment, but I will actually stamp those flowers again. So I'm just going to grab a piece of scrap paper, as I haven't got a grid sheet. I'm not working with a grid sheet, but I want to stamp slightly off. So let's go back in to my Night of Navy, and I will just ink up those flowers, but I'm going to stamp off and then stamp on just in that corner, and that will just give that a bit of something, a little bit of yeah, interest in the middle of that card. We can get rid of that, so we can stick that into the center, and again using multi-purpose liquid glue. So how is everybody? Is everybody well? Ooh. Renee, last night when you were watching Lorna, you had some snow falling. Did that snow stick around, or did it disappear? Was it fickle snow like in the UK? Oh. And we can see this card starting to come to life now. So I'm going to stick this front piece on the front. Oh, before I adhere the flowers, we're going to add some ribbon. So I've got a choice of ribbon. I've got the lovely bordered ribbon, it's called, that goes with the suite, and I've also got the polyester, soft polyester ribbon in petal pink. So I'm just going to lay those there before I start sticking flowers on, and I'm going to ask you which one, blue or pink. I'll let you choose, blue or pink ribbon, please, while I just stick this piece on the front. Let's have a over to the audience. I absolutely adore this set. I just really like the design of the flowers and the fact that the sentiments are sort of multi-purpose. It's really nice. Now I think I just need to wiggle that a little bit. I think there's a song there. Let me stand and see which ribbon. Pink to bring out the flowers. Lovely. Thank you, Lisa. Blue. Sheena says pink. My comments are just disappearing off the screen, so I can see 2 for pink and 1 for blue that just disappeared. So as I can see 2 for pink, I think I'm going to go with pink. Right, so this is the soft polyester ribbon, and this is in petal pink, and this is in the annual catalogue, whereas this ribbon matches the suite, or is designed to coordinate with the suite. So what I did with the ribbon on this card was I actually wrapped it all the way around, and then I wanted the 2 tails to lay perfectly horizontal. So I actually snipped a hole in the ribbon and fed it through. I haven't tried it with this pink, so here goes, and I'll show you what I mean. So first of all, I measured a piece of ribbon so it would go all the way around plus a little bit. So I think that should do it. With my ribbon scissors, we chop that on an angle. And then I just pop that in half. Oops. What I did was I wanted this piece. See, if you try and lay it so it's flat, it just doesn't want to lay flat. It wants to, this one wants to go underneath, that one wants to go on the top of that one. So what I did was I actually cut a little hole in the ribbon. See whether I can actually do this with this one. Not tried it before. Could all go disastrously wrong. And then I fed the ribbon through. So let's see. I've got my little hole just here. I don't know if you can see that on camera. And if I can try and poke this ribbon through. And I might be able to use tweezers to do that. Pull that ribbon through. Oh, it's an experiment. Let's see. Come on. Pull it through. There we are. And so now I've got my tails laying flat. So it did work. And now I can actually just move that round a little bit. In fact, I don't need to, because I'm going to stick my flowers there, and I'm going to trim my ribbon last thing. But what I will do, actually, just to adhere that ribbon, is on this side I'm just going to pop a little bit of Stampin' Seal. Let me just move that forwards a little bit. Just pop a little bit of Stampin' Seal there, and that should just anchor that ribbon. I can move that up, and that'll just anchor it in place. So now I'm ready to decorate with my flowers, and I want some dimensionals. Let's just grab a sheet of those. Have a tidy up. Now what I want to do, let's just lay them out a little bit, is pop. We'll have a big one, we'll have a medium one, we'll have 2 blue ones. So I might just break this up a little bit with a couple of blue ones there. It's not quite as many colours as the original one. And I'm going to pop these little blue ones underneath. Maybe just sit them on the top of the ribbon. And then we've got some blue leaves. So something like that. So let's start sticking. I think I will stick my large flower on first with a dimensional, and we'll go from there. And we'll see where we want that. Let's pop that about there. So a very different look from the original, and yet pretty much the same design, using exactly the same stamp sets. And what I'm going to just do, because this leaping up and down is just annoying, I'm going to use a block to help that just sit down, and that will just help me a little bit. Now I think I'm going to stick these on about here. And I'm going to use a little bit of glue on the bottom. Excuse me, just on the bottom of the flowers. Wet glue will not stick anything to ribbon because the ribbon will simply absorb it. So I'm just going to stick the bottom to the cardstock, and this can be sort of free over the ribbon, it doesn't matter. And remember that this square, you can actually overlap the square and it will make it look a bit more interesting. I'm going to stick that one down here a bit, and I'm going to place a blue one in between. I feel like I've lost a blue flower. It's there, look. Ooh, sticky fingers. I'm going to just break up the pink with that blue one on top. So this pink one here needs to be on a dimensional. Yeah. Let's have a look. And a dimensional will stick to ribbon. In this case I don't want it to, but dimensionals will stick to ribbon, as will tear and tape, glue dots, what we call dry glues. So I'm going to actually use a glue dot, I think. Let me keep that on there. A glue dot on the back of this one. I pick them up with my scissors. Pop that on the back of the flower, and then pop that flower on the top there. Oh, she said. My glue dots must be cold. They should stick to ribbon nicely. Yeah. And we'll have this other little blue one. Let's have a think. We could go under there. We'll go under there and we'll pop a little bit of glue just on one corner. And slide that underneath and give that a press down. Now we've got some of these leaves and we can start to tuck those under as well. So we just need a little bit of glue at the bottom. Don't need to put it all over the back. Slide that under and give that a bit of pressure, and then this little one at the bottom. And that is pretty much the card done. I'm just going to tidy up my ribbon and we'll call it done. Put that black away. And let's just get my ribbon scissors back and let's just tidy up this ribbon at this side in particular. There we are. I think we'll leave that one. Just tidy it a little bit. I quite like how that ribbon works out, so it's just horizontal. It's not it doesn't cause a big bump in the middle either. It's quite nice, it sits nicely. Let's tidy up. So there is our fancy fold. I don't know what this fancy fold is called, I have no idea, but it was one I quite liked. I'd seen it elsewhere online, seen a few other demonstrators had made it. I hadn't seen a demonstration. Oh, we haven't put any milky dots on. Let's finish that one off with some milky dots. This one I've used the yellow ones. Oh, this is what I can't stand, this these cellophane bags. That's going in the bin. I think I'll use these lovely pink ones. Oh, I'm going to hand it back to the audience. This very pale pink or this dark blue. I'm just going to leave that there while I stand up. Thank you, Renee. The pink does look pretty, doesn't it, that ribbon? So as we went with pink ribbon, do you think the dark blue dots will stand out? Let's see. Dark blue or pink milky dots. What shall we do? There's always a delay. Oh, dark blue. Sheena's in first. And Maxine's sending me a picture of what she's done. Fabulous. Post it on the Crafty Beehive, please. That'd be lovely. Dark blue. That's a couple of votes for dark blue. Let's go with dark blue. I think... Oh, excuse squeaky wheels. Lorna and I've both got squeaky chair syndrome. So let's go with the dark blue. Let's have a little triangle of dots. Oh, I should really use my take your pick tool, but I've got the brush end on at the moment. Oh, actually, I still have. Oh no, I've got the pokey tool end. Let me just pop those there. Yes, I think they work nicely. I don't like that one there though. It's in the wrong place altogether. Let's pop you up there, I think. That looks better. Nice. So I don't like the cellophane wrappers, so I keep my bling. I've shown you before in an old wood mount case. Inside I have a photo album, one of those really cheap slip photo albums, and I just slide my gems inside. Those little photo albums are just like this when you get them, and they're really cheap from, I don't know, I think I buy mine in Wilko's here in the UK, but they're just so easy to use, and sometimes I actually chop a page out if I want to take the gems to class, or if I want to take them and I'm crafting on holiday or something. I actually just take one page out. You can cut them down. I just find that if I can't get my crafting products out to use them easily, the same with my DSP in those flimsy plastic wrappers with the sticky tops on them, I can't stand it. I just can't stand it. They've got to be easy to get out. So let's recap what we've used. Same but different. We've used the Sentimental Park stamp set. Really useful and versatile because we have some lovely small images. And did you know this image here actually coordinates, excuse squeaky chair, with the petal punch, which had been retired but I believe is still on clearance rack, certainly here in the UK, and that actually does punch that flower out, so even more versatility if you've had this from the past and still have it on your shelf, or if you haven't got it, it's a really nice flower punch to have. I love the fact that we can mix those sentiments up. I think that just gives you such a lot of scope for card making. We used just 2 ink colours, that's all, to coordinate with the designer series paper, and we also learned that this design of the designer series paper coordinates beautifully with the punch that's in the suite, and I think again that gives extra versatility. Now I love a bit of fussy cutting, but when there's a matching punch, fantastic, just really great. So that's what we learned today. Thank you for making along with me, Maxine. I really look forward to seeing your card over on the Crafty Beehive. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I will just squeak my chair and stand up and say thank you for watching it, and I will say goodbye from here. Every week I try and turn my camera back round, and every week it doesn't like it, so bear with me.